Hello again and welcome to another video coaching session. Now, in this lesson, in our journey to create dashboards for reporting purposes, we're going to look more closely at filtering views, custom filters, and auto filters. Let's get started. Okay, so now we're focusing on filtering views, custom filters, and auto filters. Now, what exactly is filtering? Basically, filtering is a way to help you focus on particular parts of your project schedule. And when you filter, the information is either limited in the view or the information that meets certain criteria is highlighted. And we're going to go through some examples. Filters that are available to you really depend on the view that you're in. So right now we're in a table entry view, specifically the Gantt chart view in this screen. So the filters that are available to me will be based on the view that I'm in. And since I'm in the Gantt chart view, the filters will be task related. Task-related filters are available in the Gantt chart view, which is basically a Gantt chart view, which is what we're in right now, is a task-oriented view. Another example is the resource sheet. If we change our view to the resource sheet, in this case I have two resources here, the resource sheet is primarily a resource-oriented view, and basically as such only resource filters are available. So now if I look at this resource, the filters here, these are all resource related filters. Okay. Now let me go back to my Gantt chart view. So let's focus a little bit on applying a filter to a view. The filter you set, as we said, really depends on the view that you're in. And once you've opened the view, so right now we're in the Gantt chart view, you go to the project menu option and select filter for. And here you'll see a list of the most commonly used filters. You can choose one of these filters that you want to apply. So in this schedule, if I want to filter for critical tasks, I'll click on critical. And now basically it's showing summary task as well, but all of the red tasks are showing now. These are the critical tasks. And if I go back and change the filter back to all tasks, you'll see tasks that are not critical, those that are not red, showing up in the project schedule as well. Now just to show you something, you can quickly tell if a filter is on because, let me go back to the critical task filter, because if you look at the numbers in the ID column, they will not be in sequential order. So for example, you see ID 1, ID 2, ID 3, and then you don't see 4 or 5. That's because those have been filtered out. So looking at the ID column will help you see that some tasks are hidden, and this is a way to quickly determine if project is filtering any information. Okay. Now let's take this filter off, go back to all tasks. Now to apply a filter that doesn't appear in the list, so here's again a list of filters. If you want to filter by something that doesn't appear in the list or apply a highlighting filter, you would do the following. You would open up the view that you want to work in. And then you go to the menu option project and you select the filtered for option and you select the more filters at the bottom of the list down here. And what happens is the more filters dialog box opens up and you can see that you can select a filter from the list here and then click on apply to apply that filter, or you can check highlight. There's a button here that says highlight, and when you click the highlight button, it'll apply highlighting to a filter. So if I select critical and then select highlight, so what this did is it's actually highlighting things in blue, probably because if I go to my text styles and check for highlighted tasks, my highlighted tasks appear blue. What I'm going to do is actually change the task to be an automatic color, but change the background to be yellow. For me, that will be easier to see since I have my milestones in my project schedule blue, and I want to make sure that I can see the highlighted tasks. So I changed from text styles, highlighted tasks, to have a black foreground and a yellow background, and click on OK. And so now what this is doing is it's highlighting in yellow anything that's on the critical path. And I also have my summary tasks in this as well. Okay, so that's what the highlight button does. Let me hit undo. So again, when you go to your filters, go to project, select filter, more filters, the highlight button will literally highlight the rows that are associated with whatever filter you select. And once you've selected your filter, you click on the apply button, and needless to say, then the dialog box goes away and you will see the filter that you've selected. Now, to turn filtering off, you would of course go to project, more filters, and you would select all tasks to return back to where you were. Or you can use this toolbar and quickly select all tasks from here as well. If you were on a resource sheet, you would see all resources, or you would be in a filter for resources. And if you're in a filter for resources, if you want to turn the filter off, you come back and you turn all resources off. You select all resources to show all of the information for that resource. Okay, so that's how you go between the task and the resource filters. So let's focus on creating custom filters. You can create new filters or modify an existing filter. And the process for creating new or modifying existing filters is very similar. You would basically do the following. First, you choose the view that you want to be in, whichever view you choose. And I'm still in the Gantt chart view. And then you go to the menu option Project, and you would select again the filtered for. Now it says all tasks because that's what I have right now. When I change the filter to one of these or create a new one, it would say filtered for, and you'd see whatever filter you've selected. So you choose the filtered for, and then you choose more filters. And now we see again the filter dialog box. And you select the filter that you want to modify. So let's say we want to modify the critical tasks filter. So we're going to select that. And then what you should do is click on the copy button. Okay? And then what you want to do is name your filter some name. So in this case, I'll call this lesson 20. Oops. Lesson 20 critical filter. Okay, so I'm giving it a name so it stands out. And this filter, since it's a copy of the critical filter, has all the information that the critical filter has. So this is the filter definition, and it's the filter definition in critical path, multiple critical path MPP. That's the name of my project schedule. And I gave this filter a name called lesson 20 critical filter. Let me fix that spelling error. Okay, so now we've selected the copy button, we've named our filter, and we selected copy because we don't want to change the existing filter. We want to, because any changes we do here will be permanent, so you want to create a copy. And then you click on in the field name below, which currently has the critical task field selected. And you can see when you click in this field, there's a drop-down arrow, and you can see all of the fields that are available in the task view. Okay, so when you open this dialog box, give it a name. I'm going to hit escape. And then once you name it, you can go to the field column and select the field that you want to filter on, or fields that you want to filter on. So once you select a field name, then you move to the right into the test column here. And the test is what the filter is testing on. So you select a comparison indicator, and this is checking for if critical field equals yes. So if you want to build another type of filter, you can select a different comparison from this box here. Okay. Then when you move to the right, you'll see the values column, and you can enter a filter value. And in our case, if the value is yes, if the critical field value is yes, meaning it's critical. And then basically you would repeat these steps. You'd select an and/or operator, and we'll talk about that in a moment. You'd repeat these steps as often as you like until you build the filter criteria that you want your project schedule to be filtered by. So suppose I want to filter by critical, and let's say something like and the finish date. I'm just making this up. Finish date is greater than. Let's see what type of options we have here. Let's say greater than today, or Friday, Friday, June 2nd. If you wanted to build that in your filter, you could do that. Now, when you're building multiple fields of criteria, the option here in the and or column is you select and or you select or. And basically what will happen is when you select one of these operators, the following will happen. If you select and, then and displays information only if the task or resource meets all the criteria that you've defined here. Okay, only if it meets all the criteria. If you select or, then it displays information if the task or resource meets any of the criteria. Okay, so this is a more open filter, meaning if one of the criteria exists, then it'll filter, as opposed to the previous one, which requires any. Okay, so again, and displays information if all the criteria are met, and or displays information if any of the criteria is met. And once you've built your filter, you then click on the OK button. And you can see your filter now listed here in the More Filters display box. And then you can click on Apply to apply this. Now, this project schedule behind me, all the tasks on here are earlier than, I take that back. I was going to say they're earlier than June 2nd, 2010, but they may not be. So let's click on Apply and see what happens. Okay, so I clicked on Apply, and quite a few rows disappeared, but we still have quite a few rows here as well. So this is showing critical tasks, and let me go back to the filter we created. Click on Edit. So we had an or, which meant that if any of the display information in the, meets any of the criteria, and here we're going to change it to and, so you can see what that looks like. Click on Apply, and you can see even more rows went away, and that's because the display information has to meet if all of the criteria. So there's quite a few that met all the criteria. They were critical tasks, and they had a finish date greater than July 2nd, 2010. Okay, so that's what we had in that filter. So now let me go back to our filters. Now I want to show you here that if you wanted to create a new filter rather than copying a filter, you can do that as well. What you do is you click on the New button, and the filter definition dialog box pops up, and it's empty down here. You can assign whatever values you want. What will be available to you in the fields will be all task related if you're in a task view, and if you're in a resource view, the fields that will be available to you will be resource related fields. And again, you'd give the filter a name. We'll call this test 2, and we'll just say something like I don't know, start date less than let's see, I'm going to put in a date. I'm going to say start date is less than last Friday. Okay, so I just typed in a value. And I can select show in menu if I want to see this test menu in my menu. I'm not going to do that right now. If I want to show related summary rows, I can check this, or I can leave it off. And then I click on OK. And you should see test 2 here in our more filters list. And I can click on the apply button. And test 2 is showing basically all the tasks that have a finish date less than July 2nd are what are showing here. And you can see there's definitely fewer tasks showing here now because of the filter criteria that we created. Now let's go back to our all task view. And I want to share with you something in reference to using auto filters. So to turn on auto filters function, you can do this by simply clicking up here in the toolbar. Right here on this image, it looks like a funnel with an equal sign to the right. And when you click on that, notice that each column header now has a triangle to the right of the column name. And if you want to filter on anything specific, like a task or a start date or whatever, you would simply click on the triangle. Let's see, I guess I'll choose a start column. And when you click on the triangle, the drop-down list appears, and you see all of the values for that particular column. Okay, so each column has different values that are available to it. So let's say, start date, we're going to filter by start date. Let's see, I'll say tomorrow. I don't have anything that has a start date of tomorrow, so let me go back to all. So I could actually select custom in this case. So let's say start date is greater than, and I'll select, I'm just going to type in July 2nd, 2010. Okay, and then I click on OK. So now this just filters everything that has a start date. We said is greater than July 2nd, 2010. So all these start dates are greater than July 2nd, 2010, and that's why we see them now. And of course, when this filter is on, you can see in the ID column how we're missing numbers, like it jumps from 2 to 15. That's an indicator that the filter is on. Also, the blue label tells you that there's a filter on a column. You can filter, by the way, on multiple columns at the same time. So right now we have a custom filter that says, show tasks that are greater than 7/2 2010. We could also set a filter here where we say, where finish is, less than, and we can see we have finish dates here out until September and, December. We can choose a date, let's just say August 1st, 2010. So now we're going to have less information here. Go ahead and click on OK, because we're taking out information for tasks that do not, that have a start date and finish date between these two. Okay, and you can see these columns are highlighted. That tells you there's a filter on them. And of course, in the ID column, again, you can see that your ID numbers have drastically reduced. And to turn the filters off, you simply go and you select all, click all again, and now these filters are off. We're looking at all tasks in this project schedule. Now let's say that you decide that you want to always display auto filters. So if you decide that you want to always display auto filters, always want to have these triangles displayed, then for every new project, every time you create a new project, you want your project to open as a new file with the auto filters on. How you do that, let me just first turn auto filters off, is you go to the Tools menu option, select Options, and on the General tab, you'll see a checkbox next to Set Auto Filters for New Projects. So if you check that on, and then click on the OK button, then if I create a new project, I just create a new project file. You can see here that the auto filters are automatically turned on. we have the triangles here in the column headers. You can see the toolbar button here is depressed. It's highlighted, so that means it's selected. So as you can see, filtering offers a lot of flexibility. Now, take a look at your homework below, and I'll see you in the next lesson.